What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is the second tutorial that I've put together here. The first one, which came before this, was the command line basics. So now you should know how to move around in your command line, move around in your terminal and everything, and make files and stuff. But that's sort of tangential to programming. In order to write programs, which is what we want to do, we need to be able to use the text editor of our choice. And most of you probably already know how to use a text editor, but I'm going to introduce the one that I'm going to be using, which is VI, or more accurately, Vim is the one that I have, which is VI improved. But either one is fine, and at least VI, possibly Vim, depending on your operating system, will come default on your Linux or Mac machine. So you don't have to do any downloading, you can just use VI. And you might say, well, what about Windows? Well, Windows got to be different. You cannot use VI, it does not come with your operating system. But I will make recommendations on what I think Windows users should use as well. But I'm going to start by using VI because that's what I'm going to be using for the remainder of the series. So I'm going to open VI, and the way that I do that is by typing VI, same as any other program. We kind of went over that in the last video. And you notice that when I open VI, it changed, my whole terminal looks different, right? Like, VI is a terminal application, which means it runs inside the terminal. So it totally changed the way that my terminal looks because now my terminal is running the VI text editor. So that's kind of useful. It's one of the reasons I like VI for some use cases, because if you're working in the terminal already, you don't want to maybe manage a bunch of different windows. You just run it in your terminal, and then you can quit. If I quit, I'm back to my terminal again, so I can sort of just pop and swap without opening and closing a bunch of different windows. So the one thing that's maybe a setback or a problem that you may have noticed is if I'm in the terminal, I don't have like a file drop down menu or any of those sort of GUI interfaces that we're used to with all of our text editors and document editor software that we're probably more used to using. And that is a problem, but not an unsurmountable problem. So VI works by having two states, right? Because if we don't have a GUI, then we don't have a way to click on like save and things like that. So we have to use keyboard commands. But that obviously becomes a problem if you're using a text editor, because you want your keyboard commands to actually type those keys into the text document that you're working on, right? So how do we do both? Well, the two states that we have are a command mode and an insert mode. And depending on what mode we're in, our keystrokes are going to do different things. So we start and we're in the command mode. So I don't want to be in the command mode, I want to be in insert mode. So I'm going to type I for insert. And now you can see everything's the same, only now I have this big capital insert in here. And you might be like, what's all this? Well, that's fine. I just hit spacebar. That's the like a welcome screen. It's not actually in your document, right? As soon as you start typing, I just hit space. It goes away. It's just there to sort of like tell you like, hey, welcome to Vim, right? So I'm in insert mode now, and now if I press I, you see it types I's to the thing, because now I'm in insert mode. Whereas before, I was a command when I was in command mode. So how do I get back to command mode? Well, if I'm in insert mode, I want to change to command mode. Maybe I want to press escape. And if I'm in insert mode and I hit escape, see the insert went away. And now I'm back in command mode, and I can do things like maybe I want to save this file. Even though there's nothing in it yet, I'm still going to save it just so that I have a file that's saved to something. So I'm going to hit colon, and in command mode, all your commands go down here. So I'm colon W. And you might say, well, why is it colon W if you're trying to save? Shouldn't it be colon S for save? Well, it's colon W for write. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen like DVR recordable, like there's different versions, like some are read only and some are read and write, and those are the ones you can like make copies onto. So writing and saving are kind of synonymous if you haven't heard that syntax before. However, I do have to name it. Like if I just hit colon W, it's like save it as what, right? Because this is just a document, but it doesn't have a name. So I'm going to, you don't have to do this every time, but the first time that you save a file, if you haven't already named it, you're going to have to name it. So I'm going to name this one hello.c. And notice the .c extension here. That's because I'm going to be writing a C program, and that's the file extension of a C program is .c, which is, pretty easy to remember because it's just one letter. You may be familiar with like .texts or .ppts for PowerPoint, so just .c for C. And now we're in hello.c. And I'm just going to real quick, I'm going to hit insert here, and I'm going to write a real quick program that I'm going to misspell, that I'm not going to explain. I'm just going to do, because I want to take us through the whole process of writing and compiling, so that we know the workflow. And then I'll go back and explain like why I did what I'm writing and what it's doing. Right? So this is my little program. It's very small, very short, but it is an actual program, and it will run and it'll do something. And you may have an idea of what you think it's going to do, and you're probably right if you have some idea that it's going to print hello YouTube to the screen. And I'll explain exactly how it does all that in a second. But first I'm going to go back into command mode by hitting escape. I'm going to hit colon W to save these changes that I just made, right? And then I'm going to hit colon Q for quit, and that's pretty self-explanatory, right? So the only real things that that I went over in terms of VI commands so far have been dot, colon W, and colon Q, and that's for, I'm going to put write so we don't get confused, or I'm going to put something that is kind of like write, and quit, right? So I'm going to colon Q, and now we're back to where we were before, right? The only difference now is when I list my stuff out, I have this hello.c file that I wrote, and that's good because we're writing programs, but I can't run a hello.c file because it's not in a language that the computer understands yet. And that has to do with the compilation process, which is sort of a extensive topic that I'm going to save for the next video, is going to be all about compilation. So far we have written a code, written a C program, but in the next video we're going to compile that program, and I'm going to explain why we have to compile and what compiling is, and why it's important. So that'll be in the next video, but for the rest of this video I want to turn to my Windows bros, because they don't have VI and they want to write programs too. So let's get rid of all that nonsense. So let's say you're in Windows and you're like, I want to write in VI. Well, you don't have VI or Vim or anything. I mean, you have a Notepad, right? And you can write code in Notepad. Like, this will be totally acceptable to write the same program I just wrote. Hello, Windows. right? But I can control save, and we'll call that hello.c in Windows, right? And then when I do directory, which is my version of ls, I have my hello.c in Windows. So that's fine. I still can't run it because it's not compiled yet, right? But we'll get to that. But if you want to use Notepad, you can. It comes built in. You don't have to download anything, nothing like that. But Notepad is not very user-friendly, especially when you start writing larger programs. So I would argue that you would probably want to at least use something like Notepad++, which I have open over here. Just the same as Notepad, right? I can write my little code. I'm going to be really good at writing this program by the end of by the end of this tutorial. Notepad++. Oh, I should probably write it correctly though, huh? Hello, Notepad++. What's up? Blah blah blah. And see, it's telling me, like, it has some text editor components, like it's like saying this is spelled wrong. But the reason it just thinks that is because it doesn't know what kind of, like, if I save it as a C file, like if this is a notepad.c, then it's like, oh yeah. And see, now it's kind of color coded the way that, if you remember, this is being color coded, and that's because the text editor is trying to help me out. It's trying to highlight different parts of my program and tell me, like, about them. So Notepad++ is better than Notepad for writing programs, and if you're on Windows and you don't have VI, I would suggest at least that, and you can download it here, and I'll have this in the description. But since I'm telling you you have to download something, or I'm suggesting you download something anyway, you might as well download Sublime Text, because Sublime Text is better. So I will put the description for Notepad in there, but I would suggest that you download Sublime Text, because it's very useful, not just for writing C, but it's very used for all kinds of coding and applications and things. So it's probably like, and then once you have it once, like, you have it forever, so you don't have to download it again when you need it for something else later. So you might as well get Sublime. Yeah. And we'll save that as this is not where I need to be. And see, it's all color coded and nice, and you can even, like, minimize things that you don't want to look at. So definitely worth getting. It is free-ish. They do ask you to pay for it, but they don't really enforce it. But you probably should if you can afford it, because I mean, they worked really hard on it. As you can see, mine's unregistered, which is kind of embarrassing that I'm making a video and I didn't give them the money. So I probably will go pay for it now, because I have been shamed into doing so. But you know, Sublime Text is free if you, like, can't, if you don't want to pay for it, they're not going to make you. It's not like they're going to, like, oh, your trial has expired. Like, there's no expiration date or anything. You can just not pay them. But I'm not suggesting that, but you know, whatever. Or if you don't want to, you can just use Notepad++. That's totally free. You don't have to worry about being a bad person. So anyway, those are the various editors that I would use or suggest. Like I said, I will link the description the downloads for the two Windows specific text editors. Although you can use like Sublime, especially in Mac as well. So if you want Sublime and you're using Mac, you can use that. Just I'm going to be using VI for the rest of this tutorial. So stay tuned for the next video, where I will be going over compilation, why we compile, what it means to compile, and why it's important to compile. all the compilation, all the compilation. So stay tuned, and I guess like and subscribe if you want to. Is that's how you become a popular YouTube channel, right? Hopefully, I'm not just talking to myself, and some people actually watch the videos that I make. All right, that's it. Bye for now.